Today, we will discuss the Cardboard Log Cabin and why new technologies are redefining what visiting a museum during the COVID-19 pandemic looks like. This presentation is by Danya, Megan, Shelley, Bria, and Rachel for the Summer 2020 Com Studies 240 course. The Cardboard Log Cabin is a part of the Great Smoky Mountain Heritage Center and is part of the reserve that helps preserve the history and culture of Native American and Appalachian people. This property has 15 different cultural exhibits on it, including the Cardboard Cabin that is a part of a historical village. The Cardboard Cabin was built in 1892 to 1895 by James and Martha Clabo. James built the cabin by hand from log that he found on the property. James raised money for his family from being such a great carpenter, and they were able to actually move out of this cabin, and their Uncle Willie moved in. Now, you can take in all of this information from the museum itself, or with new technologies that are being redefined that we're presenting today, you can find new ways to understand this historical context and get a better look at Tennessee from the 1800s. I'm going to be passing off to Rachel so you can get a better understanding of why technology is effective.
So like Shelley said, it's very important to fully connect with historical context and significance. And descriptions placed on signs are helpful and they can be interesting, but in order to fully grasp and appreciate the cultural significance, the use of technologies can be helpful. And speaker Nina Simon in her TED Talk emphasizes the importance of experiencing museums in different ways in her speech opening up the museum. The museum can also help you to explore your interests and further your education. And the way that Simon sees it, people don't look to exhibits to explore that. They often just prefer to obtain that type of knowledge firsthand and experience what they're learning. But with technologies, you're able to actually experience what you're learning. So it'd be a great alternative to further your education. It's proven that virtual experiences can arouse more emotion than as opposed to a normal museum. And in Forbes, a contributor, Eva Amson's article, Can Virtual Reality Compare the Experience of Being in a Museum? She explores research on how people respond emotionally to virtual museums compared to real ones. And given survey questions and measurements of research participants who visited both, the results concluded that if anything, a virtual experience can arouse more emotions than museums are trying to convey. The Great Smoky Mountains Heritage Center's mission gives us the ability that Woodward emphasizes that those that wish to learn more about Cherokee culture throughout the 20th century can visit the Caldwell Cabin located at the Great Smoky Mountain Heritage Center. Through the use of virtual reality, you can learn about the most civilized North American Indian tribe from your own fingertips. And now I'll pass it on to Danya to explain more about the technology.
So like Rachel said, I'm going to explain what our project proposal is. I'll give an outline of what interactive tools that we're planning to use on implementing. According to an online journal, Point and Shoot Extending Your Reach with QR Codes, written by Nancy Glassman and Karen Sorensen for the Journal of Electronic Resources in Medical Libraries. Quick response code can be used with a smartphone. It opens up web pages, videos, displays, photos, and text. Because of the challenges that COVID-19 has created, museums and other educational spaces are having to move to different mediums to limit in-person interactions while also educating people. QR codes allow for visitors to use their smartphones to receive historical information like when the Caldwell Cabin was built, and details about the people who lived in the building. You can also see live actors performing tasks like those that originally lived in the building. Another use of QR codes is you can have a 360-degree virtual tour. Visitors can put themselves in the shoes of the people who live there. They'll experience life inside and out of the cabin. The tool also allows the center to entice more visitors to come because it allows them to get an up-close details of the building and other buildings around the facility. As an added bonus, it also lets the facility gain valuable information about which areas are more popular than others, so they can steer visitors towards those areas. Next up is Bria. She'll explain how we're going to afford to do all of this.
So, Shelly, can you click on, I believe. Maybe I'll just stay here. So as I said, I'm mentioning how we would be able to afford pretty much investing into a 360 camera and just in general advertising for the Cardwell cabin. So 360 camera is a solid investment just because the cameras usually cost between $100 to $1,200, give or take whatever brand you are purchasing from. With camera, you'll be able to, as mentioned before, virtually reach users of the internet for the main purpose of seeing the museum beforehand, or even if they don't want to go in, as Shelly said. This camera can also assist in the appeal of the cabin, and it can make it more interesting for younger people that aren't really interested in going into museums or learning about those, about history. The best option would be to hire freelancers, just because freelancers are obviously like they stand alone, they do things by themselves, and their prices they can usually adjust to whatever your budgets are. It's Budgeting Practices by Alice Antaloni from Nonprofit Finance Fund. She says that nonprofits have to create budgets that are adjustable. So something else is that graphic designers are great too, because some of them are freelancers and they definitely focus on the vision. So if the Cardwell cabin owners or owners of the museum decide they want a certain vision, they can access graphic designers to make that come to life. And then ways to advertise that also is from using social media platforms like Instagram, Twitter, and Snapchat. Those are things that people that are obviously in the younger generation pay more attention to. So if that's the audience that you're trying to reach to keep the media open, they'd be more beneficial. And also Instagram and Twitter and Snapchat, they're very easy to manage if you have the right people pretty much marketing behind it. And so Shelly will wrap us up with our conclusion now.
These technologies show the impact of learning during these trying times and will help us get a better look at what museum development can grow to actually be. These technologies most importantly provide a contactless experience and create a comfortable environment for those trying to learn from home. But to finish our presentation, QR codes and technology are fun. So why wouldn't you want to add this to your museum and provide a better experience for those who are trying to learn historical context of Tennessee from home?